I want to give you some instruction on how to make a really superior looking document. Yeah, it's not about like what's in it or how the data is correct or not or units or not or whatever. It's about how to organize your information so that your reader really efficiently is able to extrapolate it. I have to tell you a story. I have a good friend of mine and who's a front-end designer for websites. And she said to me something interesting, and I was a little bit like, what? What are you talking about? She said, I have to design a website. So when the user leaves the website, they don't remember it. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, they can't remember the experience of using the website. They may visualize some pictures and stuff, but it has to be seamless. The extrapolation of the information from the website has to be seamless. It doesn't have to be a struggle. There shouldn't at any point should the customer or the person trying to read the document or going through the website or whatever say, what's that for? Or where is that? At no time should they ever say one or the other. Or why is that like that? So those questions, try and eliminate them however you can. Now, I need you to get it in your head that you're not writing this document for me. You're not writing this document for you. You're not writing it for Marks. What you're doing is you're writing it for a customer. Yeah, let's say you work for a company and you're writing it for your boss, who is then going to give it to a customer or give it to someone who is going to evaluate, say, a project. And it's like, this is your project proposal saying, hey, this is how we're going to design the circuit, and this is the type of motor we're going to use, this type of switch, and these are the attributes about it. And the customer wants to see it. So this project is not for me to mark. It's for you to sell to a customer. So yeah, it has to look like it's professional. Your customer has to look at your work and read it seamlessly. At no time should you leave anything open for interpretation. At no time should your customer say, what's that number for? Why is that there? Who's this? What is it? Well, wait, this is here and then that's over there? What's this blank page for? No. So really, it's all about producing a document that your reader is going to be able to really be happy reading. Okay, so I've got some exemplar documents, and I want to go over them. So here's a really good report, and this report was put together for the power and control of a DC motor. So in the last one that we just did, so this is what's going on. So this was the cover page, and that's fine. The cover page has a lot of extra stuff on it, and that's fine. You can put diagrams and motors and stuff on there. It looks great. And then here we go with the table of contents. And now what's going on is here's the introduction. Actually, do you know what? I can tell you something. I don't like the spaces here. The reason is because my eyes don't well jump to the next line. My brain is not used to reading words that are so spaced out. So they're so spaced out, dude. Yeah. So that's probably not the best call to do that, but it's okay. I mean, everything's spelled right and everything looks good, and the font. Actually, I like the use of this font. It makes my brain happy to read it. And the introduction, and there's that. Okay, down here, here's a nice circuit. Everything's good. Do you know what my brain sees right away? No kidding. No kidding. This is what my brain sees right away. See, these kind of look like they're... Actually, this was copy and paste. That was good. So this was done in the drawing program. But if you take a look at this angle here and this angle and that, they kind of... they look okay. Actually, do you know what? This line being a bit of a... I think it's at a different angle than this. Anyway, my brain jumped on that right away. I was like, is that the same angle as this angle kind of thing? So, and then you know what? This diagram has been skewed. It's been stretched, and that's fine. But I mean, your customers kind of might, if your customer knows electrical circuits, he's going to look at this. He's going to say, oh, they kind of skewed that. They extended that drawing. It doesn't look quite right. So this should actually be a circle. That should actually be a circle. But again, this is an excellent diagram because somebody put a lot of love into this, and it was great. And they labeled this. You absolutely have to label everything. That's fine. So you know that. But you see, it's all about the reader going through this and saying, I'm happy about this. Now, we know that these equal signs aren't, they should be up and down, exactly up and down. But this is really cool. I wanted to mention this. This is actually important. When you're, I brought this specific up because I wanted to show you this. When you're squaring 24 volts, you have to put a bracket there and a bracket there and use a capital V. Actually, voltage is a capital V. So put a bracket there and a bracket there, because if you just do 24 squared and then V, it means 24 squared V. But no, it's actually V squared, because power, a joule per second, is equal to a volt squared per ohm. Or a joule per second is equal to an amp squared ohm. So it's not equal to a volt ohm. A joule per second or a watt is not a volt ohm. It's a volt squared over ohm, or a volt per ohm. So what's going on is that you have to square the V. So now these equal signs should be bam. And the reason is, well, there are lots of different reasons for that. One is just professionally, this is just how it's done. The other is so your reader can read it more smooth, more seamlessly. Dude, it's all about making your reader feel comfortable. Again, maybe a little bit too much space here, but it's nice. I like, this is nice. This is a nice straight line here. You see where I'm going with this? And by the way, guys, don't use these little symbols here. Do not use that little symbol. Always use a subscript or a superscript. So I will just jump into this. Always use superscripts. Always do that. Do not do this ever, ever, ever. It is not professional. Just don't do it. Okay, so going back to here, we're going to continue on with this diagram. Actually, that's another one that I wanted to show you. Here we go. What I want to show you is the fact that references and citations is on the same page. Datasheet is on the same page. When you put appendix, you have to write down what the appendix is. You can't just say appendix 1, appendix 2, appendix 3. Go find a textbook that just says appendix 1 or just says appendix 2 or just appendix 3. It always says what the appendix is about. Again, always think of your reader. If your reader sees the word appendix 1, he'd be like, what's in this appendix? It's not telling me. Yeah, so you always want to fill gaps. Now, I can read everything here. I can read these numbers. Don't skew this so that your reader can't read anything. Some people put images in here that were skewed and they couldn't read them. Again, the people weren't thinking about the fact that the reader has to extrapolate information from this. Again, this is not some report that I'm marking and you're making for marks. You're building this for a customer. Okay, there's another one over here that's pretty good. See, now over here, if you look at this introduction, this is a lot easier to read. My brain can read it. My eyes can read this a little bit better. So what I have found was, I have found that some students wrote, let's say they wrote control formula, and then that was a heading that was like right here. Now this type of mathematical documentation is exactly what I'm looking for. This was done in Word. And I think this is, if you can do this, that's just a lot better. That's really professional. And that looks good. I mean, it really looks like you are professional if your documentation looks like this. Now, the thing is, what I want to say is, some people put headings on one page and then they did the work on the other. What I'm saying is, don't do that. Always make sure the headings are on the same page that your work is. And if you can, do not spread a formulation over 2 pages. Do whatever you can to avoid that. If it's absolutely crucial, it's okay. But if it's not, if you don't need to do that, don't do it. Do whatever you can. Change the font size. Change the font size of a couple lines to shrink things in or whatever, to put a formulation on the same page you started it in. Don't cross pages with formulations. And also, don't put any blank pages in your document. Like, your reader's going to be like, what's this blank page for? Is there information missing? What happened? Yeah, so no blank pages. Now, the thing is, when you're putting your document into a PDF, it's really important that you look at it again, because sometimes a PDF will change from a Word document a little bit, and it'll actually shift things a little bit. The margins on a PDF are different than the margins on a Word document. So you may have some headings that end up on the previous page. And if that's true, just fix it. But you cannot produce a document where a heading is on one page and the material is on the next page. Yeah, so watch that. And what else did I want to say? And the last thing I want to say is, as you can see, this is a nice blue color here, and that's a blue color, that's a blue color. Please do not use red in anywhere in your document unless you want to highlight something, unless you want to scream and yell at your reader. The customer does not want to see red unless they feel that they understand, oh yeah, that's really important. My eyes should have to go to that right away. Don't put headings in red. Don't write anything in red unless you want to really highlight. And you have to be careful. You have to be careful about that. It's got to be really serious. So blue is a really nice color for headings. So there you go. And make sure your font is the same as well. Don't make one heading out of one font, one heading out of the other font. So again, I'm just going to reiterate all of this. Write your document so that you're doing it for a customer, so that they don't have any questions in their mind about where something is or why something's there or there. There's nothing open for interpretation, and they're not going to wonder, but like, you don't want your client to have that look on their face, or at least have that look that is their thinking in their mind. Yeah, you don't want them to question, like, what's that for? So it's all about writing for another individual. So you have to be other-centered in your writing. You have to think about your reader. And I think then if you do all of that, then you're good to go.